I know the body's natural ability to heal. As such, I've never been on a medication to heal myself from an ailment, and I've been through the things that people go through. And it is about allowing that spaciousness to be recovered, allowing the flow of energy in the body again to flow as it's intended, instead of it being blocked by veils of unconscious, unresolved emotion. Welcome back to the Art of Awakening podcast, where the art of living awake becomes a daily practice for you. I'm your host, Dr. Sue Morter, and I'm in a different location today. So if you're watching, you're seeing a different background. If you're listening, probably sounds the same. And I am at my summer place where I am just a stone's throw from the ocean. So maybe you can feel the waves as I'm talking and just feel the open spaciousness of the ocean, the sun, the sand, a newly replenished beach. It's just absolutely gorgeous and wonderful. So I'm thrilled to be here with you always, and want to speak to you today about some things that I am reminded of when I'm in this spaciousness in this way. There's such an energy that is present when we are at the shore, or we are in the open meadows of the Midwest, or we're in the tops of mountains in in our mountainous areas of the world. And one of the things that happens in those circumstances is we begin to feel a different energetic. We feel different energy. We feel different. And what is different about it is the vibrational frequency that we can become aware of so easily, without all the obstacles that distract our attention and that bring us into an entirely different perspective on life. And so I wanted to talk to you today about how that can be healing for you, and how even if you are in the hubbub in the midst of a city right now, listening or driving down the road and trying to navigate your way through something, nothing keeps you from being able to imagine or remember this kind of open spaciousness, if you have ever been in it. And if you've never been in a space like one of the ones that I've described, imagine it. What would it feel like if the layers of my thinking self were softening, and I was breathing more freely, and my shoulders were dropping, and there was an air in the about the space that I'm in that simply breeds something profound, something permanent, something natural that has always been there, whether I was paying attention to it or not. And it is important that we learn how to do this on an ongoing basis, because it's our true nature. That spaciousness, that openness, that energetic that you feel when I describe these things is an energetic that you can train yourself to walk and talk and live and breathe in, no matter where you are or what's going on in your external world. And as insignificant as that might sound, I want to tell you that it is everything. It can change everything about you and about the life that you're living and the choices that you make, your body's ability to heal, your ability to come up with ingenious ideas, different projects, a different angle of looking at life. Your intuition and your gut feelings, your inner wisdom rise under these kinds of circumstances. And so it is imperative, actually, that we learn to tap in to this kind of frequency, no matter what. So when you take a belly breath, you drop your shoulders and you open your heart, you soften in your solar plexus area, which is right where your ribs splay apart, you immediately begin to dial into the same spaciousness that I'm speaking about. You're made of it, and yet you're compressed in a physical body. So I had the wonderful benefit of being raised with energy medicine healing techniques as far as an approach to life, not just to heal ailments or illnesses that were around or that I was encountering, but as a way of thinking and looking at life. I knew, because I was raised this way, that everything is in an order, that if we allow ourselves to embrace that orderness, that orderliness, we start to resonate in a coherence with this true nature. And when we do that, our body moves from fight or flight and into a more healing capacity, into a healing zone, if you will. And when we do that, we automatically begin to address things that got shoved aside, tucked under, swept under the rug. If you can imagine or remember a moment where something was emotional and you were triggered or something was happening, you didn't have time to deal with it right then, so you just put it somewhere and you went on, and then you forgot. And you went on again, and then something else happened, and you did the same because it seemed to work the time before. And before you know it, these things are getting pocketed and stuck inside the system in ways that literally stop the energy flow. That natural expansiveness and spaciousness is no more. And what is there instead is a contracted heaviness that leads to depression and confusion, and it leads to a feeling of disconnect because we are now vibrating at a different frequency than the one that we were originally intended to be vibrating as. And so when we go to these open, spacious places like the shore or the meadows or the mountaintops, we feel it again, and it reminds us of the truth of who we are. And it allows us to have the capacity to begin to unpack these things that were stuck inside, that were shoved aside or swept under the rug. And in those moments, we actually take healing into our own hands. Now, the key is, how do we do that without vacation time? How do we do that without having to get on a plane and fly somewhere? And the beautiful thing is we can. There are many, many healing modalities that are natural healing modalities, and perhaps most of you have probably been exposed to them. And some of you may be listening in because I'm aware of new types of listeners joining us all the time. And some of you may never have really ventured into too much around these natural energy-based healing modalities. And I want to assure you that there is so much more there for you than you may have ever imagined. Many of us were raised in cultures where as soon as there was a problem, we went to the doctor and we got a medication, or we went through some procedure and approached it from the outside in an attempt to get the symptoms under control. And I was raised in the opposite orientation, that to go inward to find the healing solutions. And so as such, I've never been on a medication to heal myself from an ailment, and I've been through the things that people go through, but I know the body's natural ability to heal. My personal exposure to that was a technique that my father developed called bioenergetic synchronization technique. And it is about allowing that spaciousness to be recovered, allowing the flow of energy in the body again to flow as it's intended, instead of it being blocked by veils of unconscious, unresolved emotion. Instead of that, the technique that I was raised with, it allows us to drop in and start to feel into these areas that we previously had swept aside. And when we do, healing happens. And when we don't, we start to ask more of certain systems in our bodies to do more than they're designed to do. Our adrenal glands are over-functioning all the time because we're in fight or flight all the time, and it's presenting cortisol into the body that is aging us and deteriorating our natural cellular function. And when we begin to get this energy moving and flowing again, and this spaciousness returns to our disposition, what happens is the chemistry changes and the body begins to heal. It begins to recognize that these stored emotions are causing improper chemistries, and our adrenal glands are exhausted, and our thyroid has kicked in trying to help out the adrenal glands, and it's not made to do that. It will, but it's going to exhaust as well because it isn't built to do that for long periods of time. And so now our thyroid is out of control, exhausting, and our whole hormonal system starts to roller coaster. And the next thing you know, we're in all sorts of anxious states or depression states or angry states. Our fuse gets smaller, and life just doesn't happen in a creative and beautiful and spacious way. And so I want to encourage you to investigate, for thousands of years, acupuncture has been an approach using needles to direct and redirect that energy flow through the body. Acupressure came along to facilitate a similar process without the needles of acupuncture. And Reiki is another way that this has been expressing for many years. Bioenergetic synchronization technique is sort of a combination of a lot of those things, and it also brings into account your ability to discover where the blockages began, when they began, what it was that I was doing that shoved something under the rug that allowed me to marginalize my true essential self and try to keep going in some survival moment. BEST, which is what bioenergetic synchronization technique is, allows us to identify what it was, when it was, where it was that this happened. We can literally pinpoint when you began thinking you weren't enough. We can pinpoint, what it is that is really underneath the surface of why you're upset. We hear the saying that you're never upset for the reasons that you think you are. And I would attest to that. The majority of the upsets that we are reacting to in our lives got established in our lives before we were 10, most of them before we were 5. Definitely by the time we were 7 years old, around in that space right there, we were already establishing survival techniques and ways of being and strategizing and paying attention to certain things and ignoring other things in order to get ahead or be safe. And so the rest of our lives have been spent as a reflection to that. And I just want today's conversation to allow you to recognize that there's more to this life than perhaps you are aware. There's more to your healing capacity than perhaps you are aware. There are ways that you can lean in and study this type of work and become a self-healer. Many people in our community have done exactly that. They've taken from me the coursework of teaching them how to implement this bioenergetic synchronization approach where we're getting the energy moving again in our bodies, in the bodies of others, if we're choosing to do that to help other people. And it's an amazing way for us to experience our true nature as the spacious, flowing energy presence, the quantum energy being that we truly are. Quantum science it's here. It is front and center. When we recognize what the principles are that are being shared with us through quantum science, it's time for us to recognize that we do not have to be dependent on medications and externalized procedures to maintain or to even recover a level of health and vitality in our bodies that we miss or that we crave or that we long for, or maybe we've never even experienced. And so I want you to understand that illness isn't something that just happens to you. You don't catch something that is in the air. There's many conversations that I had when COVID was such a huge new influx into our world was that it depends on the vitality of the host. That's what determines how sick we get or if we get sick. Now, granted, there are some stronger bugs out there than we've ever known before, and I know that it's calling us, it's begging us, it's insisting that we reach inside and find a deeper version of ourselves that can take charge of our lives and our health and our vitality and our outlook on life by raising our vibration, by elevating our consciousness, and by embodying higher and higher moving, flowing, integrated aspects of energy in our systems, the way we were meant to be living. And you can too. There are no exceptions to this. Everyone is built for this. And some of us were taught it early on, and some of us were not. And so that's why you're here. That's why you're interested in this conversation on an ongoing basis, because everything that I am doing is to remind you, is to integrate, and to pull you forward as the true creative healer that you are. We are made of the stuff that we seek. And that we're seeking it on the outside is what keeps us from finding it. And so We just have to learn how to look inside. And these beautiful energy-based modalities are certainly a way for us to explore and to investigate how we might get in touch with our healer within, our ability to manifest and to flourish and to bring positivity into the conversations in our world today, and to allow us stability when the world is rocked on its side, as it is right now. We're definitely in a birthing time, and what we are birthing to is not a mystery. We're birthing to the truth of who we are, and that is a quantum energy being. We are energy that is awake. And as we awaken to that fact, we awaken to our creatorship, our ability to generate the life experience that we are interested in having, not complain about the fact that we don't get to have it because someone isn't giving it to us. It is right here for the having. And so we reach inside, we recognize how to breathe, we recognize how to be with intention, how to listen within instead of drive and force and over try and overgive and overdo in an attempt to fit in or belong to something that is actually a reflection of what we're allowing to be true. So what I love about energy medicine and the spaciousness that it returns to our system is that it's bringing you back to the real you. And that is something that you can't get in a bottle. You can't get it. It won't happen. And if it does happen on some, momentary basis, it might put you into an expansive state when we talk about psychotropics and those things that are, so popular right now. It may give you a glimpse of a bigger arena, a larger reality, a bigger story that you could learn to fill in to and fit into in your life. But what I love about true energy medicine is that it is building the circuitry for integration and infusion and reestablishing the flow of that energy inside your body. Your consciousness raises, you become awakened and enlivened in a sustainable way. And it's happening along the way rather than you then trying to figure out how to integrate some experience that you have just in meditation or your shamanic journeys or whatever they may be. All of it is beautiful. But my concern for everyone is integration. Let's embody and animate these things in a way that makes them beneficial to us, makes us want to be here and to be strong and to be clear and to know who we are and what we're capable of. Your body knows how to heal. It just needs the clear signals to read. It needs to be able to feel and sense and interpret and translate. And when half of your energy is locked up in some shut down component that happened when you were 5 and you've never readdressed or revisited it because you didn't even know you were supposed to be, and you certainly might not know how, then it's no wonder that we are locked into stress and our immune systems are suffering and our hormonal and digestive systems are seriously compromised. And we can do something about all of that. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just that the system isn't being utilized the way that it was designed to be utilized. Think about it that way. Let yourself pause for a moment and think about those symptoms that you have, or those circumstances that you've been living with your body or your mental health or your emotional status, and just pause and whisper to yourself, there's an alternative. I don't have to feel this way. And the answers are inside. And I've just never been taught how to find them, how to untangle them and allow this energy to flow again that reflects and reconnects in the brain with the body and better communication. And it allows for this energy to flow and to resolve these issues that have been created simply because it was stuck. So it's hard to imagine that reoccurring back pain is because of stuck energy, or your digestive issues, or your sinus issues, or your allergies, or your inability to sleep at night has anything to do with the simple thing like energy flowing through my body or not. And I assure you, I've spent my whole life in this conversation. As a kid, I was listening to my father have these conversations with patients that would fly to him from all over the world. And now I sit and have this conversation with students and clients after the years of working with patients from all over the world myself. And I want to share with you a cut to the chase reality. You can turn it around, and you will feel lighter and more present. You will feel more clear-hearted and clear-headed. You will be in your right mind again. You will feel in charge. You will breathe more deeply. You will be more relaxed. You will be rejuvenated, and you will feel renewed. All because you're just finally allowing yourself to reconnect with you. So you can start by breathing in your belly. You can start with the anchoring and the anchor points that I've shared on the podcast. And if you don't know what that is because you've just joined us, then go back and read the archives, or listen to the archives rather, and be plugged in, be connected, get caught up with what we're doing here, because we mean it and it is for you. Physical pain has an energetic root. It is emotional suppression. It's unresolved emotion, the number one reason that we are not functioning properly. And so, in terms of energy medicine techniques like bioenergetic synchronization technique that I'm referencing here today, simply because that's my experience, that's where I've been. And I've taught doctors all over the world. My family has been doing this for generations. And what I see is that as soon as we start to reestablish the energy flow and are able to connect with, wow, where did that start? What am I doing that's causing these blockages to begin with? Or what was I worried about when I got physically injured that kept my injury from never healing, me not realizing they had anything to do with each other? Well, you can, right? That's what we're doing here. So you can heal without force. You don't have to go into the stories. You don't have to be re-triggered by things that have upset you in the past. That is not what this is. This is about you learning how to sit down inside of yourself and breathe with patience and loving presence in ways that nobody taught you how to do, and how to focus your mind in certain areas of your body at certain times that are very specific in unlocking that stuck energy and allowing it to flow again. And so if you're seeking deeper healing, or you have root level desires for transformation in your life, you're onto it. You are onto it by being here, and this is the point. And so there are certain things that we can do that allow for us to be recapturing this more effectively and efficiently. And at some point I can share with you how to do that. It is a technique that is allowing you to support yourself and to support your friends and your family, and to be on a wellness journey, not because you're trying to heal something, but because you're celebrating what's right and what's natural and true. This is wonderful for our young generation that is coming forward. They're onto it. They recognize, hey, I'm not going to get plugged into some system that just wants to keep me sick because there's a huge profit margin in it. This is something else. This is a different conversation. It's about, let's remember the truth of who we are. Let's see if we can't put that to work in our lives and watch how we become functional when our friends are not. And I love it that we have a younger audience plugging in, and that people are very, very curious about what gets to happen when we turn on our true power and we participate in our own energetic mastery in this life. So what we do is we clear the energy field, and we allow these obstacles that have gotten swept under the rug, that are bogging us down, just by learning how to drop into that space and feel it and breathe with it instead of trying to get rid of it. It's like, when you have pain in your shoulder, you just want to get rid of the shoulder, or the hip pain, you just want to get rid of it. It isn't about that. It's about leaning in and going into these areas, because you can't get rid of enough parts of you to ever experience your wholeness. It will never happen. So let's learn how to embrace them and to pull them in just by being in this conversation. It's happening. There's a transmission that happens when we get to talk about these deep truths that is just so beautiful. The healing begins to happen. So the deeper you breathe, the slower you breathe, and the more integrated you become, the more healing happens in your body. So, I can almost hear your mind saying, so you're telling me that if I just learn to breathe a different way, I'm going to heal my asthma, or I'm going to heal, this injury of 15 years ago, a car accident, and so on. And I'm saying it's a start. And I can tell you what to do to get the rest of that happening and unfolding as well. In fact, I will. Just want you to know that um, I am I'm teaching a BEST, a bioenergetic synchronization course coming up soon. Is probably why it's on my mind. And the enrollment for that is closing soon. And so you can jump in. You can learn this revolutionary system of healing and awakening that you can use for yourself. You can use it on others. If you've been curious or waiting for the right time, maybe now is that time for you. What I do know is that the main thing I want you to get today is that you can heal you. You can not only heal you, you can reveal a true magnificent you. And by doing that revealing, healing happens as a natural byproduct. When you get in touch with the truth of who you are, which is what the art of awakening is all about, healing happens as a byproduct. People are telling me that they're waking up, a morning after they listen to one of my podcasts and able to have full range of motion in their neck for the first time in months. And having a different outlook on life just by being in these conversations and hearing what it is that this perspective is bringing. So if you're interested in learning more about the bioenergetic synchronization technique that I was raised with, my father developed, and I'll be teaching again soon, there'll be notes on how to register in the show notes. And, I'm always wanting to make everything available to you that is available to you. I want you to become aware of it. So I'm so appreciative of you being in the yes to you and being a part of the art of awakening. So thank you for spending this time with me today on the podcast. And blending science and spirituality is what I do. I love to work with it together in a way that is more transformational for you than anything else you could possibly focus on, because science and spirituality never should have been separated in the first place. And so when we bring them back together, that's why we love it. That's why we love how it is healing and how it is integrative, because it is actually representing the one thing that is truly you. So I'm wanting to empower you to create a life that you truly love, and that is definitely what the art of awakening is all about. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this podcast if you've enjoyed it today. And until next time, I'm Dr. Sue Morter, offering you blessings always. Much, much love. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.